Hello, Hafaday, and good morning, Guam. I'm Jason Salas with KUAM News, and you are joining us live from the Guam Homeland Security Agency and the Office of Civil Defense. We are going to the control center as we tend to do, and it has been a rather interesting turn of events, a sequence of events over the past 48 hours. For some, a huge relief when they got up this morning and they saw that weather conditions were a lot more clear than they were over the past day or so. For others, a minor nuisance because they couldn't really tell what was going on. For others who are really tracking this thing and trying to figure out exactly what's going on, it was somewhat confusing. So we are going to be and put you front row center, as it were, at the heavy weather briefing and see what the latest is with what's now Super Typhoon Wutip.
Yeah, super tight.
From the back room? Back room or from an angle? Or the back room?
So prior to the beginning, you see there Chip Guard, of course, the very famous chief meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and we are going to find out exactly what happened with the storm that did intensify significantly and is now a super typhoon, well out of the way of posing a direct threat to Guam and the Marianas. But Chip has all the details.
Anytime you're ready. You ready, Leo? Okay. So here we are. We have Super Typhoon Wutip moving slowly. This is advisory number 19. And are we going to do the next slide thing? Technical. Okay, are we ready? Is that going to work? Okay, this is a half visible and half. I'm sorry?
There's a delay. You'll be in charge.
You'll be in charge. Okay? Okay, this is a half visible, this side, the sun's coming up, half infrared, that side. So we didn't wait long enough to get a nice visible picture. Yeah, you can see the nice eye in it though, it doesn't really matter. And it's not that far away from Guam. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. This is the color infrared, and of course, we have a radiometer that's shining down, and it takes the temperature of the first thing it sees. If the first thing it sees is the ocean surface, that. Why don't I just, I don't know how to do it from here.
So some minor technical difficulties right now, but getting the visual imagery up. You can see the variety of satellite imagery and forecasting visualizations. So wherever you guys are watching from, make sure you check in, and if you happen to be on Guam and you're watching our live stream right now and you have some sort of issue with utilities, please leave that in comments. If you have no power, if you have a spotty water situation, we'd love to hear from you and pass the word on to GPA and GWA so that they can be aware of the situation in your village and certainly prioritize your area so they can help you out.
Can you back up the slide, or are we just gonna? Okay, so here's the water. Okay, this is the color infrared. Anyway, the green is light rain, the yellow is moderate rain, the bright red is heavy rain, and the brownish red, these are ice clouds like cirrus clouds, so there's no rain there. Next. And this is the water vapor channel, and this is the, so this shows us the complexity of the atmosphere, and right now we have a trough that's heading toward this direction, and that's what's drawing this storm up toward the north. But that's in the upper levels, but in the low levels we have a ridge out here that's trying to push things toward the west. So as these two motions collide, one's going to try to go one way, one's going to try to go the other way, and when that happens, eventually they're going to decouple. The low level is going to go one way, the upper level is going to go another way. Next. And so this is just a big picture of the system out, high resolution picture, and you can see there's not much banding here. Most of the deep stuff is on the other side, although if you get close to this eye wall, there's a lot of stuff in that eye wall. Next. And this was last night's microwave, and this just shows that most of the deep stuff is out to the west. And this also shows that there's not so much banding here. That's why we haven't seen so much rain, say, last night and through the morning. And that's because there's not a lot of deep bands there. Next. And this is the track. And so we're up here, and the storm is sitting there, and it's supposed to be moving toward the northwest about 7 miles an hour. But the last several frames on the radar is just sort of sitting there. And so we want to make sure that it's not going to sit there and start to move toward us. It's not likely it's going to move significantly toward us, but if it moves very much toward us, we're going to get back in strong winds again. So we have to assess what that's doing, but it's going to be drifting up here, and eventually it's going to decouple, and the low level is going to go out here, and you can see how fast it's going to. So 115 miles an hour here, and then down to 80, 60, 40. So it's really going to weaken fast. Next. And this is the uncertainty, and of course you can see that there's not much of a chance of it turning around and coming this way, but like I said, if it shifts over very far, then we could be back in strong winds. What we don't want to do is drop the warnings, then have to put them back up. So next slide. So this morning at 7 a.m. it's located at 12.6 north latitude, 142.2 east longitude. That was 185 miles west-southwest of Guam, 230 miles west-southwest of Rota, and almost 300 miles southwest of Tinian and Saipan. It's moving toward the northwest at 7 miles per hour. Expected to slow its forward movement in the next 24 hours. It's 155 mile per hour sustained winds right now, and with gusts to 195 miles per hour, and it's expected to get up to 160 miles per hour. So damaging winds extend 190 miles to the east, destructive winds 120 miles, and typhoon winds 60 miles. CPA occurred last night around 8 p.m. I know, how come you didn't tell us it was going to be CPA? Well, it just came and it just veered to the west just enough so now it's it's 185 miles, but last night it got as close as 165 miles. So next. So onset of 39 mile per hour winds ongoing until later today. We don't expect any stronger winds. We're sticking with our 40 to 45 mile per hour with gusts as high as 60 miles per hour. We had 66 mile per hour gust up at Anderson Air Force Base. We had a 63 mile per hour gust at our weather station. And I imagine at higher elevations and in valleys and on slopes that they had some stronger winds up there. Rhoda, they haven't experienced damaging winds, but they've been very close. And then Saipan and Tinian have been, so we had them in a watch, but we never did put them in a warning. Next. So, the seas are still dangerous, but they're coming down. We had estimated we probably had 3 to 5 feet or more of inundation down on the southern part of the island. Now the storm is heading up to the to the west side of the island. We may see some stuff up in Rahan Bay. If it sits out there, then we're going to have to worry about Agate and Nimitz Beach and those areas as well. And if it gets far enough north and sits up there, then we're going to have to worry about P. So once it gets around to Rhodey Point, then you have to worry about P and Essen. So, but the seas are coming down, but we had maximum 35 feet several times. These are the high tides today. So you can see we're coming up on a high tide. There'll be another one tonight. We always plan for a high tide, right? Because we can't tell you exactly it's going to hit a low tide. Next. This just gives you an idea. When we talk about the maximum seas, we're talking about the 10th highest wave. So you go out there and you count 10 waves. The highest wave is your maximum. Terrible way to get this out to the public. If you're out there for several hours, look at this. This is your maximum. So we had maximums up to 36 feet. Lucky the buoy didn't break loose, but and then this is the average here. So the average, the highest, and then this is your extreme. So next. And you can see here, most of the energy is coming out of the south. So this is from the Ipan buoy. As the storm comes around here, the island is going to block the Ipan buoy. And the Ipan buoy is not going to pick up this energy, this wave energy. But the Ritidian buoy will start to pick up the wave energy. So it's up to the northwest. Right now, the island's blocking the Ritidian buoy. So everything we see on the Ritidian buoy is actually coming out of the east. So none of it's coming out of the southeast. So that just kind of gives you an idea. These buoys are really, really, really valuable to us. And next slide. Precipitation, 6 to 8 inches we were looking for. You know, we had a flash flood warning. I think we probably have dropped that, but we have a urban small stream flood advisory. We had over almost 9 inches at Maurizo. But at the Rahan Ag Station in 48 hours, we had 17 inches of rain. And Dan, down where the old NASA used to be, 12 inches of rain. Jeff's had almost 7 inches of rain. I had almost 8 inches of rain in Senahania. So, and we have a lot of observing stations around the island we haven't even looked at yet. So, next. Currently, we're in Core 1. I recommend maintaining Core 1 until the threat has passed. So we want to make sure 2 things. One, the strong winds move out of the area. Because 50 knots at 1,000 feet. So any showers come through, they're going to bring those winds down. But number 2, we want to make sure the system is moving away from us and not toward us. Next. Okay, so we've seen this slide so many times, but Category A damage, and it's the minimal kind of damage you're going to get from a tropical cyclone, but it's out there, and you can see there's leaves all over the place, all over the roads and stuff. And we had some short power outages. I have to say the power company did a terrific job keeping the power up. So today, stay out of the water. That's all I can say. Next. We always tell people to plan for the next highest category, but unless something really drastic happens, I don't think we have to worry about these kind of winds. Next. Forecast storm intensity at CPA. It's going to be a strong one, 155 to 160 miles per hour at about 175, 180 miles southwest, Actually, probably west-southwest now. So next. So we'll keep monitoring this thing, and you know, it's like the ocean. Never turn your back on the ocean. You guys don't have to worry about it. We'll worry about it for you, but we want to make sure that we know exactly what's going on. We'll still get hourly updates, radar updates, but I got to tell you, it's sitting near the edge of the coverage. But it's been the last several hours. It's just been spinning pretty much in the same location. Next. And this is what's on our Weather Ready Nation Ambassador page. We send this out on an email to Weather Ready Nation Ambassadors. So if people want to sign up to be a Weather Ready Nation Ambassador for your agency or unit, we will add you to the list. We have about 300 around Micronesia. And this is probably pretty much what you're going to see on the Facebook page as well. Any questions? We try to keep this updated, but the number one thing that gets updated is our website. That's the most important thing. And that's what, and all those products get pushed out to Jenna, get pushed out to Homeland Security up in Saipan. And so those are the official products, and that's the official way of getting them. But we know that that a lot of people get it on Facebook. So during U2, we had 2.9 million hits on Facebook. And with Dolphin, we had 100,000 hits on our website and 425,000 hits on Facebook. So the writing's on the wall where people go to get their news. Any questions? Yes?
Yeah, Chip, when do you anticipate going into court? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, media.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't anticipate right now. So, any questions about the briefing?
Okay, so please, if you're watching us on the live stream right now, stay with us because we have the site assessment portion of our live stream right now. You're going to talk to a former colleague of mine for many, many years, Crystal Paco, who now works at Adelup. And we are we over there, Jenna, or we're all the way out of here? Okay. Okay. So we are going to, look who I just ran into. Now on the other side of the camera.
Hello from the other side.
And,
Should I say
and of course she's quoting music.
Down,
so clearly the conditions are better if you can be so chipper this early in the morning. We're going to talk to you in just a bit, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. The conditions are better if we're smiling.
Okay, so yeah, both Janella Carrera and Crystal Paco are saying conditions are better. We're going to talk to them in just a moment, but please make sure to share this live stream because there's a lot of confusion going on right now. There's a lot of people making guesses, people just thinking just because the weather is better than it was 24 hours ago that it's okay to go out. We're going to get you properly up to speed on exactly what's going on. As far as what has transpired here at the Guam Homeland Security Agency and the Office of Civil Defense this morning, Josh Tenorio, who is the acting governor, I should say, of course, because Lulian Guerrero is in the nation's capital for a governor's conference. He was properly briefed by Crystal and by Janella. They're going to tell us what they talked about with acting Governor Tenorio on the site assessments and basically the different parts of the island, any damage assessments and any place that the good folks at the Department of Public Works or say the EPA have to go out and basically take a look at. And as you can see, or as you heard from Chip earlier, the southern villages, particularly Inarahan, 17 inches of rain down at the Inarahan station. So that is significant. I believe you're saying Maritza was like almost 9 inches of rain. So why are you guys looking at me? I know you don't want to, especially when you have, what is up, Crystal?
What is up?
Okay, now in a much different capacity. Okay, so you were actually burning the midnight oil and you were doing a lot of work.
We've been here since condition of readiness 2 was declared on Friday, actually,
Okay.
so we haven't gone home.
Okay, so everybody keeps asking right now in the comment stream, everybody's saying, what condition are we? And for people that know we're still in Core 1 at the moment, when are we going to Core 4?
We are still in condition of readiness 1. As the Malfunction song says, you know, oh, how I wish it was condition 4. We are not there yet. At 12 noon, we will return back with National Weather Service and assess where the storm stands. Again, a reminder that it is a super typhoon, category 4, almost 5. And so we want to make sure that the coast is clear before we lift any warnings or hazards from the island.
Okay, when you were going around, were there any particular areas or villages or neighborhoods within the island that had massive significant damage that, you know, will maybe like slow traffic, or, you know, the people just need to steer clear of because crews need to go out there and work?
You know, this is not our first rodeo, so we know where the vulnerable areas are, especially the mayors. This administration has been very, very good about communicating with our island mayors and knowing where the trouble spots are, where the low-lying areas, the vulnerable areas, where, like, for example, this morning we did our windshield assessment, and one of the first places we went to was Barcina Street in Maritza. We met up with the mayor there, and basically it was awesome because the water was flowing, there was no debris. The Department of Public Works was working overnight. I mean, they were working since before the storm had come to Guam, and they were mitigating the situation, clearing the debris so that there would be no flooding. And so from my experience, speaking for myself, from the windshield tour, nothing major, nothing significant to report. A lot of smiles on everyone's faces as the sun was starting to come out. And again, no significant damage. We also visited the Umatic Bridge. A lot of mitigation was done beforehand. We've hardened our infrastructure before, and so now there's less work on the recovery side. Okay,
and I can see there's a lot of Southerners who are watching our live stream right now because we're getting lots of hearts and thumbs up. Okay, and the other thing though is there's a lot of confusion when people got up this morning. They found out that you guys actually declared, well, you guys in the National Weather Service were saying that the closest point of approach was actually 8 p.m. last night. Everybody was expecting it to be sun up today. So what happened?
Well, the National Weather Service, you know, this is the guy to ask.
Speaking of which.
This is the guy to ask about the track of the storm and why the closest point of approach was in fact.
We'll let you get a sip of coffee, Chip. You've certainly earned a cup of Joe at this point.
Again, we've all been working around the clock to ensure that everyone is up to date.
You know, the track is going to. The track was paralleling the island such that we were going to have this very long extended period of closest point of approach. But as it's in that envelope, it's approaching that envelope, it moved a little bit to the west, okay? Not very far. So we only missed the closest point of approach today by just a few miles, okay? But in fact, it happened last night about 8 o'clock. And that's just the way it is.
But these
people shouldn't concentrate on the closest point of approach.
Right.
That just means the storm is here and it's leaving, but it doesn't mean the worst is over. In fact, it doesn't even mean that the worst has occurred. You can still get a lot worse stuff once you reach the closest point of approach. Yes, sir.
Rain bands yesterday seemed to bring the heaviest winds and rain.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, that's what brings the heaviest, on the periphery of a storm, that's what brings those strong winds down to the surface. And when it's raining, you can feel the power. Those winds come down, you can feel the power of it. And when you don't have the rain, then you've got this kind of just average motion, and you don't get the gustiness in it. And so the winds appear to be much weaker. And that's what you see when you're between bands. And then another band comes, and then you feel those strong winds again.
So even though the storm's center was closer to us overnight, there were no rain bands to give us that kind of...
That's right. Most of the heavy convection was out to the west, as we saw in the microwave picture. So yeah, it's funny, you've got this extremely intense storm, but you don't have a lot of banding around it. So, but it can redevelop, and that's what we have to be prepared for.
Was this the strongest ever February typhoon?
Well, it's not the strongest ever, I'm sure, but it's the strongest in our history, in our history books, as far as I know.
February storm.
February storm.
Now, Chip, you've seen almost everything over the course of your illustrious career.
No, I haven't seen nearly everything.
Well, certainly humble, but this storm seemed to have a lot of unorthodox behavior. Like, as you said, it deviated just enough that we would have to set the closest point of approach back and everything like that. Like, how would you categorize like this storm now, you know, hindsight being 2020?
Normal.
Okay.
It has the same kind of problems, the same kind of concerns of every storm. And I saw a headline that says, storm well behaved. You only know it's well behaved after the fact.
That's what your forecaster said.
Exactly. Probably so. But I'm just telling you that it's behaved the way we want it to so far. But there's still room, you know, for it to throw a few surprises to us. So,
is there any possible chance or any probability that, you know, if we look at the forecast, like it seems to veer off towards, you know, away from the Marianas, clearly. But is there any chance that this thing turns around and maybe comes back?
Well, I don't think it's going to turn around and come back, but it could inch its way back and bring us back into those the field of a little heavier damaging winds, and that's what we're concerned about.
Okay.
Still Core 1.
Still Core 1. Well, that was my recommendation. Stay in Core 1 till the threat disappears.
When will you be satisfied that the threat has disappeared?
When I see that the storm is not moving more. When the storm starts to move out, when I can explain what's going on to my satisfaction, and when I start to see some weakening of in other words, if I can see the shear starting to develop across the storm so that it's going to start decoupling the upper level and the lower level, I'll be satisfied.
Do you have an expectation of when that will be?
Well, it could be sometime today, in a few hours, or it could be later on today. I think it'll be today sometime.
Currently, it's pretty much stationary.
Pretty much stationary right now.
No forward movement, westward movement?
Well, it's undergoing what it looks like, what we call an eye wall replacement cycle. So you've got an eye wall, you've got the eye here, and now we got a developing eye on the outside that's shrinking in. It's going to cut off the inner eye, and it'll take over as the primary eye.
Okay, so I got a question for Crystal. I'm sorry. Okay, so seeing as how we are now still in Core 1, hello there again.
Hey.
so we're still in Core 1 now. Of course, everybody wants to know when we're Core 4. You said earlier that your office and NWS are going to reconvene at 12. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll be at Core 4 then.
It does not.
Yeah.
I know it's tempting. The sun is starting to shine. The winds appear to have calmed. But again, we have to wait until condition of readiness 4. We have received calls at the Joint Information Center from employees asking, hey, is it safe to go to work? My boss wants me in. Again, that's the discretion of your employer. If you choose to go outside today, it's again at your own discretion. We advise people to stay put until Core 4 is declared.
Mm-hmm. And the governor will make that call.
The governor will make
based upon consultation.
Again, of course, we always seek assistance from the National Weather Service. We're not the meteorologists; they're the experts. We take their advice. Again, like he said, we don't know the coast is not clear yet.
And it's not me. We have a whole team of people, and we're gonna come up with with an assessment. And when we feel comfortable that we know what's going on and that the island's no longer at risk, then we'll go ahead and make a recommendation.
Generally speaking, can you help us understand how it was possible that a storm of this magnitude could develop in the month of February? What were the circumstances out there that allowed this to happen? Well,
in the month of February, the primary season is most of the storms are developing in the southern hemisphere. Sometimes in El Nino years, though, you have westerly winds along the equator, and when you have westerly winds along the equator, they turn cyclonically as you leave the equator. So they're turning cyclonically, that is clockwise in the southern hemisphere, and cyclonically counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. We have a big area of thunderstorm activity, and it got caught up in this circulation, and it was able to maintain itself, and once it got to a certain intensity, it's off and running. Now, what made it rapidly intensify? Well, when we started seeing it slowing down, and it's still around 10 north, that's in the tropics, and there's plenty of warm water there. So there's plenty of warm water, and once the shear gets released there, then the thing can take off and intensify. We didn't see that initially, but once it started, we could see that that's what was happening.
We've actually got a really good comment here for you. Christine Ford, watching on Facebook right now, says, Chip, great information. I hope you guys are loving the science, because there will be a test after this.
Oh, good. I hope I can pass it.
There were some remarkable measurements, 36 feet high waves, 17 inches of rain, 190 miles per hour winds. Is that all right?
Well, the winds are estimated from satellite, okay? So we have a scale that relates wind speed to damage, but in that scale there's 5 levels of typhoons, okay? And we have 2 levels of tropical storms. So A and B, the 5 levels of typhoons are 1 through 5, 1 being the weakest, 5 being the strongest. So all the winds from 75 miles per hour to 200 miles per hour, we separate those into 5 different bins based on the kinds of damage that they can create. And that's how, and so we have satellite techniques that allow us to very accurately determine what these intensities are.
190 mile an hour.
190 mile an hour winds. I mean, we didn't measure the 190 mile an hour winds. There are gust factors that are associated with certain kinds of winds. When planes go in and they measure those winds, and we've had a lot of aircraft data, that's how we develop these techniques. When they go in, and there's a big database, and we can relate certain wind speeds to certain satellite signatures. A guy named Dvorak developed this technique back in the early 70s. We're still using it.
But with this storm, the gusts were up to 190. Is that
Well, that's
correct?
our estimated. Yeah.
And sustained right now?
Sustained, well, up around 155, 160 miles per hour.
Here on Guam, the highest gust 66?
66.
Sustained?
No, Gus.
Yeah, but sustained were?
Oh, the sustained were probably up around 45, 46 miles an hour.
I'm loving the information. Dvorak, of course, also created the keyboard
Yes,
key layout.
different Dvorak.
That was a different Dvorak. Okay, there was also Dvorak, who was a setter for the U.S. volleyball team. But let's go back to Crystal right now, because I have a question. A lot of people asking Chris about island utilities right now.
Right.
How did the power and water systems, and more importantly, the agencies that respond to them, how did they hold up during this storm?
Again, we're still assessing that, but from my personal opinion, I think they did very well. Again, we have representatives from each agency here at the EOC, and they were keeping us up to date where those outages were. We were trying to make sure that the crews were able to respond as quick as possible. Again, Guam Power Authority, the Department of Public Works were working, and Guam Water Works Authority, they're performing around the clock as long as it was safe to do so, to make sure that we were energized, that you had your water, that you had your power. As for places where there are where there are power outages, and we continue to look into right now, is Chalanfama, Chalampago, Kineni Road, Maritzo, Lalo Street, Manilao, Chalan Oxo, and Santa Rosa Gigo, Carlos Heights, Harmon. I think that's about it right now. Again, if you want to report a power outage, you can call GPA's 24-hour trouble dispatch desk. That's 475-1472 or 73 or 74. And ironically, you can also message them directly on Facebook to report
And
your
they
power
respond
outage.
very quick. I do
Yes,
know that
most
for a fact.
definitely.
Okay. Have you heard anything about any down power lines or any active lines that people should steer clear of at this point? Are you aware of those?
Nothing that I'm aware of, but I can tell you, Jason, that we did do a wind chill assessment this morning. We focused down south. Again, you did hear the numbers, record rain. We heard it was 6 to 8. That was the measurement, but down south they got the most rain. And so we are very, very concerned about the residents there, the low-lying areas. Again, when it rains, it floods down south. And so personally, I saw the Barcina Street in Maritzo. It was clear, the water was flowing. Again, DPW was working around the clock to mitigate any debris that may have been blocking to prevent flooding. And we also checked out Umatic. It looked great.
Okay.
No significant damage from what I saw, and it was really good.
And on a much less important topic and everything, how's it feel to be on the other side of the camera? With
Hello
this being your first typhoon.
Well, a little different, but I can say it was much nicer being inside with a chair rather than sitting here all night.
Obviously, we were very, very fortunate with this storm.
Almost
This one could have been very, very bad.
But kudos to all the people working around the clock. You don't get to see them, but there are at least 24 people representing each respective agency, keeping us informed. We have hospital reps, we have our line agencies like Power, Water, even National Guard rep. We have the Joint Information Center, basically consists of all the agencies and their respective PIOs to make sure that we have one solid message. We don't want fake news, especially, we did see that last week and that was very frustrating. So we're trying to make sure that there's one unified message, that people are informed so they can make the right decisions when they're planning. Again, I know it's the weekend, so it's so tempting to go outside and the sun is starting to show, but please, again, wait until condition of readiness.
Okay, and then as we wrap up here, so once again, Crystal, if you're just joining us right now, Guam remains in condition of readiness level 1. You should not be out on the road right now. I know there's a lot of businesses that are publicizing that they're open and everything like that. What was the word you gave again? Like, please just do so at your own caution?
Discretion.
Discretion, okay,
again,
gotcha.
We did receive calls from employees asking, my boss called me into work, what should I do? First, I would like to tell you that, again, it's at your employer's discretion for you to be on the road. I know it's tempting to go outside. The roads do appear, I didn't see it. First, for me personally, I didn't see any significant damage or any impassable roads. Again, kudos to our crews, to the Department of Public Works especially. I saw them with my own eyes working so hard to make sure that we the recovery was little to none.
Okay, so core 1 right now. Core 4, there will be an assessment.
Could be coming soon.
Yeah.
So there's one takeaway from this entire Facebook Live is that the governor's office and the Joint Information Center, and again all our partners, will be meeting up again with the National Weather Service at 12 noon to reassess the situation. Again, we remain in condition of readiness 1. That means we are not in the clear yet.
So you're going to meet again at 12. That doesn't mean at 12 we're automatically in core 4.
Does not mean. So please
Gotcha.
wait till condition of readiness 4. I know that'll probably go viral once it is because everyone wants to go outside.
Somebody out there take a screenshot of this because I haven't seen this girl in like a month.
Right? So it's very different to be on this side, but it's very familiar at the same time.
Okay, well, thanks for the information. You guys have been fantastic. That's going to do it for this live stream. We will make sure to keep you abreast of everything that is going on with Guam's reaction and the damage assessments. If you, once again, as Crystal said, if you are having problems with your utilities right now, you can call GPA, the Guam Power Authority. If you are having trouble with the water, make sure to message the Guam Waterworks Authority on Facebook. They will jump right on it right now. No major damages to report. Guam remains in condition of readiness level 1. As Crystal said many times, if you're going to venture out in the streets, if you're going to go out and do something, if you're going to try and enjoy what's left of the island weekend, do so at your own discretion. If you can, try and stay indoors. The National Weather Service and the Office of the Governor will be reconvening at 12, during which time they will figure out what the status of the island is at that point, and then possibly return us shortly thereafter to condition of readiness 4. But until then, we will keep you abreast of everything that's going on. Thanks so much for commenting and streaming with us, everybody, and please stay safe. I'm Jason Salas, and we'll talk to you very soon.